Hello everybody, it is one of my favorite times of the year because we have some RPG news dropping that I get to talk to you about. It's also a time when I'm realizing that my hair is getting a little bit long and I really need to cut it, so I apologize for all of the cut-ins of my face in this video, but there will be a lot of B-roll, I promise. BioWare dropped their roadmap for August, and there's going to be a lot of the Veilguard to cover, from a high-level combat overview next week, a release date announcement trailer tomorrow, a Discord QA, and more. But that's all going to be for later in this month, where I will inundate you with a ton of Veilguard videos, I'm sure. But for now, we have some other RPG news worth talking about. Like, for example, that a major RPG studio's legendary developer doesn't like BG3's romances. Witcher 4 got an update, Crimson Desert will be getting a playable demo at Gamescom, and finally, Alcat Games, maker of standalone RPGs Pathfinder and Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, is going to start publishing games. And the first two we're getting already sound pretty cool. Let's get into it. Jos Sawyer has complicated feelings about Halsin from BG3. Or more specifically, he has complicated feelings about how romances are handled in a wildly successful RPG like Baldur's Gate 3. Jos Sawyer is an RPG legend from games like Neverwinter Nights 2 to more recent hits like Pillars of Eternity to Deadfire, and much of this talk is all centered around the potential for a Pillars of Eternity 3. It's not that Jos Sawyer doesn't like romances in games or love in games, but rather that he feels they're often treated like an achievement list. But for me personally though, after playing Baldur's Gate 3, the allusion to Baldur's Gate 3 is a bit weird. It's one of the games where I don't actually feel like this particular criticism holds water. Baldur's Gate 3 may have handled romance in the best way I've ever seen in an RPG, or at least matching those of great games like Dragon Age Origins, surpassing previous iterations with the depth of storytelling and narrative, not just with a romantic partner but other companions as well. There's always room for improvement, of course, but Baldur's Gate 3 is a deeply emotional narrative, so much so that it actually won a Hugo Award, a Hugo Award being one of the largest narrative book awards out there, and is only the second game in history to receive one, with Hades as the other. And all of that isn't just going to be based off of the singular primary storyline of Baldur's Gate 3. Some of the most impactful storytelling comes from the romance subplots that exist within Baldur's Gate 3. There are games with shallow, achievement-oriented romances, or as Jos Sawyer had previously called it back in 2006, masturbatory fantasies, which I hope does not get this video demonetized for saying that. But Baldur's Gate 3 seems to me like the target to aim for, not the one to punch down at.
It's not you understand. It's me. I have standards.
That said, Jos Sawyer's interview was about more than just romances in RPGs, as he went at length to admit he feels out of touch with what RPG audiences want in just about every aspect, from mechanics to story-wise. It's not that he doesn't like those things that audiences like, it's just that he feels out of touch, by his own admission, and believes even with a pile of money to make a BG3 level budget game, something he said he would do for a Pillars of Eternity 3, he's not certain that they'd make the money back. At the very least, it's very forthcoming of Jos Sawyer, so that alone is to be appreciated. To understand that what you want to create as an artist, and then feel like it doesn't resonate with the broader audience anymore. Interesting take, very interesting take, but also may be signs that Pillars of Eternity 3 may not be right around the corner. Now, Witcher 4, on the other hand, is also probably still not right around the corner, but we do have an update. Our Witcher 4 update comes courtesy of Geralt's voice actor, Doug Cockle, who explained this past week that Geralt will be part of Witcher 4, but will not be the primary protagonist. The game won't focus on him. There has been some speculation, and with good reason, given that you were able to play as this character in The Witcher 3, spoilers, I apologize, but Ciri, for obvious reasons, could be the new primary protagonist. But nothing has been confirmed. I repeat, nothing has been confirmed, despite what you may have heard anywhere else. There is no confirmations one way or the other, except that Geralt will not be the main character. In fact, even Doug Cockle doesn't know who is going to be the main protagonist. Doug hasn't even seen a script for the game yet, so safe to say, we're still quite a ways out from Witcher 4 being ready to ship, with the actors not even getting to start yet. And in addition to that, I don't know how this could be impacted or not impacted by the current ongoing strike that has video game actors on strike and video movement actors on strike. Given that that is SAG-AFTRA, which is based in North America, and CD Projekt Red is quite obviously not based in North America. I don't know the specifics of how that's going to work out with a game like The Witcher 4. Although there were even carve-outs already from SAG-AFTRA that made room for games that were already currently in development to continue to be worked on. And CD Projekt Red's Witcher 4 has certainly been worked on, as over 400 developers are now working on the title. We know The Witcher 4 will also be part of a new saga, and is expected to be the first of a new trilogy, so its development is part of a longer-term plan for a Witcher 5 and a Witcher 6 in the same narrative space. When we do get The Witcher 4, the original plan was for the others to come out within a 6-year time frame. So if we got Witcher 4 in, say, 2026, you'd look at having the 5th and 6th by the end of 2032. That's a lot to chew on, and that doesn't even touch on the fact that we're getting a Witcher 1 remake. Of course, those numbers, the 2026 to 2032, that's just something I'm pulling out of my ass. There's no actual dates. That's just at least 2 years away from now, and then using their 6-year time frame. But moving on to a game that is gorgeous and actually gives me a couple shades of the Witcher series, but one that I thought was either going to be an MMO or wasn't going to exist anymore, is going to be playable at Gamescom. Pearl Abyss's Crimson Desert will have a playable demo at Gamescom this year, and it's looking more and more like this was going to be a narrative-focused RPG with some multiplayer elements, which quite honestly sounds a lot like what many of us were actually kind of worried the next Dragon Age was going to be before they affirmed that they were not going live service. But at the very least, we now know that this game is still going forward, and is perhaps further along, with its trademark beautiful visuals and action combat. The game is now being referred to as an open world action adventure. This will definitely be an RPG that looks to lean more heavily into action and set pieces, and even now, years after it was announced, it does look gorgeous. I'm excited to see what comes of this though. The unclear nature of how it will play and how the multiplayer aspects of it will be put into the game. It's one of those things that's going to keep me concerned until we get more, so hopefully we'll get some journalist accounts from Gamescom on just how the game plays as a single player RPG, or what will be part of it as multiplayer. But in perhaps the biggest news of the day, Alcat Studios, the studio that made games like Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous and the more recent Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, is gonna start being a publisher. And the games that they're publishing, they both sound pretty damn good and right up their alley. The first game they announced sounds pretty unique and pretty intriguing. It's called Rue Valley, a narrative RPG about a man trapped in a time loop. It looks to be an interesting take on the narrative RPG subgenre, uncovering a mystery while building out your personality through memories and choices. From the Steam description, it looks like it could lean into your emotions as well. You can be an anxious melodramatic, does that mean I'm in the game? Or a comedic cold-hearted loner, and much more. It sounds fun, but the one that really got me interested, well, it's a turn-based RPG. It's a turn-based RPG in feudal Japan. Shadow of the Road is the second game coming from Alcat's new publishing arm. Developed by Another Angle Games, it's a turn-based RPG in a feudal Japan where you will encounter magical yokai and battle against deadly steampunk technology. The little teaser trailer we got for the game looks pretty solid. Combat looks like it could be fun as long as it's balanced well. But they're also diverging from other games with an interesting take on main characters. Specifically, there are none, or as they put it, they are all main characters. I'm not entirely sure how different this is from other CRPG type games, but they seem to be really leaning into what amounts to a party full of what you might consider companions in other games as the main character. There's no main protagonist. You're in control, but as more of an omnipresent presence, directing your group of characters with all of their own motivations, strengths, and weaknesses, which you will need to balance to be successful. Neither of these games have release dates, but both of them are on Steam, so you can go ahead and wishlist them now and keep an eye on them. I certainly will be keeping an eye on them, but I think my time will be a little bit busy with Veilguard coming up here shortly.